talk about something which I get asked a lot about, right? I shouldn't get asked about it as much as I do, in my opinion. But hey, everyone seems to want to talk about it. And what people ask me about a lot is objections. How do I deal with this objection? How do I deal with that objection? What would you say if somebody said this? Like, all of those things clearly are based on their reality, their experience. Now, when I look at objections, the interesting thing is often people will say, how would you deal with this objection? And they're surprised when I tell them I don't think it's an objection. Because I see it as being a fob-off, right? I think there is a difference between an objection, and an objection is, I don't want to work with you for these reasons, or I'm not willing to buy for these reasons, whereas a fob-off is something that is said pretty early on in a process, and often early in an interaction, because it basically means go away. But they don't say go away. They say things as a fob-off that they have practiced enough to know that it works. So for example, a fob-off might sound like, I don't have time, I'm going into a meeting. It's not an objection, people, and hopefully you all recognise that as being a fob-off already, because when you look at the clock and you see that it's 11 minutes past the hour, who has meetings starting at 12 minutes past the hour? It's a fob-off. Second type of fob-off. We don't use agencies. And the moment that they say we don't use agencies, the probability is they do. However, it is more of a chore to talk about the fact that they do, and then start to talk about why they don't have time to talk to you, and they've already decided that it's going to go nowhere anyway, because you're not going to be any different from anyone else, so it's just easier to say we don't use agencies. It would be like if somebody phoned you up saying, I want to sell you a car, and you just went, I don't have a driving licence. Right, that just kills it dead, right? I do. It's just going to kill it dead much quicker. Someone knocks on the door to say, do you want your windows redoing? And I say, my dad isn't in. Right, so I just make out, I can't make a decision on this, right? So we look at a fob-off that is the same as my dad isn't in. You need to talk to HR. You don't need to talk to HR. Talk to them about what? It's a fob-off. Oh, HR deal with all recruitment. As if like new people just get teleported into the department, the manager never met them, the manager never looked at the CV, the manager never asked interview questions, the manager never gave feedback to HR on who they wanted to bring back, and the manager didn't then sign off on an offer. None of those things happened. HR did it all. Yet when you accept it too quickly, and you then say to your colleagues, hey look, in this company HR deal with all recruitment, kind of letting yourself down and the rest of the team and the manager by allowing yourself to get fobbed off. And then other fob-offs like, we have a PSL. I think PSLs died about 3 years ago just because of how difficult it is to find good candidates. Maybe 5 years ago PSLs were a bit more concrete. Today PSLs are made of butter, but they're still used as a fob-off. So you've got to recognise when you're being fobbed off, people, and you've got to accept the fact I got fobbed off rather than an objection. So if you're getting fobbed off, you've got to think about what was the trigger that I deployed that created the fob-off that made them feel so confident and comfortable I should go and talk to somebody else, or I shouldn't talk to them at all. And only you know what your triggers are, right? But when you trigger a response, rather than thinking about how do I get better at dealing with the response, think about how do I change my trigger so that I get a different response. Then you'll start to get somewhere. And then when we look at real objections take place further into the process. Real objections might revolve around price for a specific piece of work rather than terms and conditions as a price, right? So when you're talking about we can work on this for you, this is the level of investment, you might then have objections that revolve around pricing, invoice process, doing business together. And those real objections, we need to embrace those as being opportunities to help us to be able to show how good we are, rather than see them as being barriers. So the real objections that we get compared to the fob-offs, then we can use a good objection handling model like the ease model. And the ease model helps us to be able to E, Empathise. A, ask questions. S, sell relevant part of service. E, execute a close. And when you use the ease model on real objections, and you get better at deploying the right trigger so that you get a different reaction rather than a fob-off, you can now start to practice the real art of becoming a more proficient sales professional in recruitment, because you've started to differentiate the two, the fob-offs from the objections, and the process to deal with one is different from the process to deal with the other. So look, I'll let you get on with doing some sales activity. Hopefully it will involve using the phone. Hopefully you'll encounter less fob-offs if you do better planning and you create different triggers. And hopefully you'll encounter some real objections because that person is seriously thinking about doing business with you and is highlighting to you the things that need to get fixed before they're able to give you a categoric yes. As always, have fun with these things. See you soon. Hey, thank you for watching. If you want to continue to get access to more high quality training and coaching ideas to help you to stay inspired as a recruiter, make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, and check out the description below for relevant links to tools, frameworks, and other ideas to keep you moving forward. And I look forward to seeing you on another one very soon.